Hi, welcome back to the Talented Learning Executive Briefing Series. I'm John Lay, your host. I'm glad to be back here. This is my favorite series of content because we get to travel the world virtually and meet with the very best learning tech companies. And today's no different. We're virtually in Chicago, Illinois, meeting with Tamer Ali, who's the founder of Authentic Learning Labs and the former founder of Crowd Wisdom LMS and a long-term expert in the industry. So we're great to have you here, Tamer. And we can't wait to learn all about your organization. It's all here. Tell us about Authentic. What's going on over there?
Thanks, John. It's a big honor for us. Authentic Learning Labs was started really to address some of the gaps we saw. We came from a very specialized learning platform that was designed to deliver professional education for either associations and professional credential bodies and extended enterprise. That worked well. And it's still working well. We are a partner of Crowd Wisdom and happy to see it continue to succeed. But we saw that there were opportunities, not just with Crowd Wisdom and beyond, with other LMS platforms and learning platforms that were not being met. And specifically, we try to target the things that, because we're what we consider an agile SWAT team, we wanted to focus on the things that we could attack and keep our essentially our soul and our R&D DNA, which was to focus on specific things that a company of our size and speed and agility could attack. And those areas were in analytics and data. We saw that the ongoing embracing of XAPI and data in general, and the systems were starting to mature where learning platforms and authoring tools were capable of basically tracking the things that people wanted in XAPI. And thanks to all the people that were involved in that and continue to be involved. And then we saw the advent and support of video. I mean, it's no secret to anyone. I mean, in the consumer world, you see how popular YouTube and Netflix are, and other platforms that are all moving to streaming. Video is well integrated into our lives, and we see it as a powerful learning tool. So we thought we have to get into that and make learning more enduring. These moments where we're on Zoom meetings or Microsoft Teams or WebExes, those are being done, every second around the world. And we thought the opportunity is too good to not address some of the needs there. We know that there are other platforms out there, but we felt like we can be more specific and also kind of parlay the play on data. And third was the content experiences were advancing beyond just, hey, I'm just going to take this, what we consider the PowerPoint conversion process of taking a slide and putting it into a very powerful tool like Articulate or Captivate. Those tools are great and still are innovative in what they're doing. But we felt like there are experiences that are beyond that people may want. For example, advanced course dashboard or a course that would integrate almost like a mashup with other components. Like, wouldn't it be great if I have a course with Articulate storyline content, but then launch into a Zoom, and then also have a live chat with my students? Each one of those could be best in class providers, but what's the glue or the kind of wrapper around that? And that's the third thing we did. Simpatico is the name of that platform. And really what all of this means is almost like, I think there was a company a while ago that used to have an ad that said, we didn't invent these things, we just made them better. And really, that's what we're trying to do. That ad motto, it might be a bit dated, but I think it's more appropriate for what we're doing now, which is that we're just trying to help deliver learning better. And those are experiences that are now more and more important, especially with the world we're in post-COVID, is that the learning experience is meant. You can't just assume that you can just put something on the web. Everybody's going to be pushing more and more on the web. So those experiences have to be good. They have to track data better. People want to know what people are doing. They're investing more and more. And then the advancement of video and content would mean that those experiences have to be better and retain the learner experience better, make more impact. So those are three areas. So the respective products that we have, one is a shuttle. It's an interactive video player. All three of these are interchangeable. They're separate. They could be used separately and launched from any LMS or any authentication scheme. So LMS by the learning standards, and we embrace all the learning standards from SCORM, XAPI to LTI and AICC. But we can also support other protocols. So if a client says, we're a Microsoft shop and everything is launched through Active Directory, no problem. If someone says, we've launched enterprise-wide single sign-on through Salesforce or any other Ping or OpenID, no problem. We serve those. But we can place this learning where it's more appropriate for the audience in question. And it could be a SharePoint internal site, or it could be a worldwide web portal for organizations that are serving an extended enterprise. And then the component that allows us to do that with Shuttle then will allow us to also track data. So Shuttle is tracking the video playback, the interactions with the video. So it's monitoring someone watching the video. It's not to be Big Brother, but it's really to enrich the learning experience, meaning it's relatively, this is not dealing with sensitive personal information. It's really saying, did this person click a component in the video, or pause, or play back, or rewind? Those are relevant both for the learner and whoever created that content. We see that. We heat map it. We can show how much people spend in each video average and then total unique viewing time. Those are very relevant things for our clients. That is all possible within our system. And that's reporting into what we call Songbird. And Songbird is our analytics suite. And we feel that it's a unique play because we see there are other similar platforms that are doing things that sound the same, but we of course, being Songbird, we sound different, right? We are different in that the Songbird suite will essentially not only take in the data from the learning platform, but all the other complementary platforms like Google Analytics or Analytics package, Zoom, or webinar platforms. Clients are using it for third-party publishers they launch, and pulling that data into one view. Now, Google Analytics has very advanced views. You can always do that, but we can pull it into to the Analytics suite and mash it up with cleanly, obviously, with other data, and it becomes almost like a much more unified view. Now, we're not trying to replicate the top-level corporate dashboards. However, for the education, learning, and development and publishing type of aspects of their efforts, this becomes a very specialized view. And what's democratizing about this is that we can also give this access to extended audiences beyond the typical group that actually gets this data, which is the C-suite or the management suite. What's very popular and the highest growth for us is to distribute this access to reports to the partners, customers, in the medical programs that we serve, the residence directors at the university. So Baylor Medical School or Harvard Medical School's program director for orthopedics will have his direct view on the dashboards for their respective residents. It's pretty cool. And they don't really have this normally. We replaced a 150-page Excel spreadsheet for one group that was sending this globally to all their residence programs for an exam that's taken by all the residents in the world that are participating in this particular program and specialty. Well, if you're a program director, you're already a practicing physician. You're managing residents in a high-profile, high-tension, high-stress environment. Then you're going to have to look through a 150-page Excel spreadsheet. We worked with a designer of our choice, and we simplified it to a 4-page document that gives a high-level topical performance review, per resident ranking, and a global ranking, and a peer benchmarking based on the year of the resident, meaning if they're in a 4-year program, what year and how they compare to the other years. Beautiful. I mean, the work was great. We're happy. It makes us so happy to see something that lights up people's eyes and they have those aha moments. And really, that's the key for the analytics. Songbird is really for the aha moments. The data is already being generated by these LMSs. We work with all the LMSs and we see that data is being generated despite people complaining. And we hear a lot of complaints, oh, my LMS is this. And this is from the top LMS that you would see in the top rankings to ones that people are using custom. The challenge is the insights are low. And insights come with visualization or expertise, meaning we put educators in charge of making these dashboards or the reports. So I'm not just dumping that someone's finished a course or enrollments, but how about hanging enrollments that have been around for a long time and haven't completed, or what we call abandonments, which are enrollments that never started. Those are starting saying, hey, this is important. This is something that I need to follow up, especially if this is a specific niche topic area that we've invested in. There's so many hangups or abandonments. There's something wrong. So that data has started to get generated consistently, and now people are building practices, which we didn't see 4 years ago, when we started with the analytics. And what we're starting to see is people are pulling this and saying, look, give it to me sooner so I can start looking at it more often, versus I'm just going to pull the report at the end of the month or every 3 months, a quarter. The building practices around this data, which is that's the step that we're really wanting. You get the aha moments, and then you start building the process and start making the impact of going back and changing things. Another example is we have a client that's very sensitive to the feedback they're getting in the surveys and evaluations. So the report that we're generating for them using AI is pulling all the open response feedback, generating a classification for that feedback, meaning if it's positive or negative. That's great. Positive and negative tells you a little bit, but then we're looking for specific words and phrases. This content breaks legal issues. This is an issue of possible confidentiality or patient privacy, or I'm giving some high-level examples to avoid giving you the specific client. And this might be multiple fields, not just healthcare, but another one is just looking for words that could point to potential issues with the content, broken, navigation, even the bad words. We're looking through those. And it's hard because when we first started this, some of the bad words in medical terms are parts of the body. So without going into too much, you have to spend some time on this and refine the tools.
Wow, cool.
So we're not just doing this on a surface level. It takes time, and it takes the patience that a labor of love would necessitate. So those are valuable services, and we continue to see that people are trying to do that. And what we're seeing more and more is in this era, I think some of the guys internally here call it the Tesla autopilot methodologies that we have in our lives these days, or preferences, is that people want to have more and more reports and data alerts pushed to them versus having this, hey, there's this portal where you can go and do these advanced dashboards. When we first started, we thought, have this better mousetrap and people come to it. They did, but we're finding that there's much more attraction, gravitation towards pushing that data, specific data to specific people. Where, hey, you're a manager at a distributor of this product. Here are the people for your group and your cohort, and this is them ranked based on their performance in the exam. That is valuable for them because they don't have to go through it. It's easier for us to get that pinpointed data in some ways because we're doing it and designing it once, and it has high impact versus just assuming a generalist approach and pulling a data structure and putting it in a nice table and put charts on it. So I think all sides benefit from that. So that's the data. And so we talked about Shuttle, which is video. It feeds, but from the learner perspective, Shuttle is giving you interactive video. You take the video from any source. What we're doing is also generating an automatic text transcript. So the transcript is using AI. So again, you see a common theme is we're using the major movements of the web, the big data, the concepts of AI, and we're putting it in a much more practical sense for learning. And groups that, even with the biggest companies we work with, they don't have access to these tools readily. They may have the resources, they may have the money, but they don't have someone to say, hey, can you give us a dedicated resource that understands our L&D function or education or training in your advanced tech group and give that person to us or that resource team for 3 months, 6 months. That just doesn't happen. So we talked about video and then analytics. And then the third component, learning experience, is really Simpatico. So we have Shuttle, Songbird, and Simpatico. All of them are S's by just coincidence. But Simpatico is really, the name is implying what we're trying to say with it is that it's amiable. It's trying to be essentially the wrapper around content or learning that'll help deliver a better, more unified experience. So what do we mean by that is clients will build in the content and choices they want. And then, for example, you'll have an articulate template, you'll have videos, and you'll have a Zoom session, and you'll have discussion. The client wants to use their tools. For example, we have a client that's building high-level advanced simulations for advanced training. These are very rich experiences, probably multiple months of development. They don't want to have just a traditional SCORM. It's an LTI course, so it's an LTI learning standard, but they also use SurveyMonkey for their surveys. And they have so many surveys, they don't want to move to another platform. They selected an LMS. The LMS works fine. They want all this to work together. So the Simpatico system will create a course menu and lay out the way the client wants. So first is to give the visual experience they want and lay out this component like a PowerPoint template would and say, okay, or a web page. And then we put the layout, the experience of the surveys, and they want to order it in sequence. So sequencing rules and other business rules come into effect. And they want SurveyMonkey to know a little bit about this participant. So we're sharing data privately, identifiers only, to SurveyMonkey. So SurveyMonkey can track unique records versus someone who's submitting multiple times. Mm-hmm. And so you take your pre-survey on SurveyMonkey, then you take the sim, and then you take the post-survey. And then 90 days later, there's a follow-up survey. All of that's facilitated by a wrapper and a layout and skin by Simpatico. Cool. And that Simpatico template is visually branded by the client. It does other advanced things. So delivery of the course is one thing, and wrapping all these things. But then the client adds another more complexity is that they deal with the people all around the country or in North America who may have disabilities or language preferences. So if John is my manager at a facility and I send my employees there, John's told me that everybody has to have access to this. Well, I have disabled employees and I have some who do not have English as their native language. Well, we also prompt the participant if they prefer to wish to take the course in another format, a highly accessible version. They can launch that. It's in one version, but it launches into the accessible version. Or let's say I want the Spanish version. It will prompt me that this course comes into different languages. Would you like the one that's your preference? I select Spanish and I'll launch in that. Again, going back to the tracking of the data, all the data is tracked to the top level course that's called Warehouse Safety 101. But I took the Spanish version. That's also part of the data. So someone could say, John could say, is my investment in the Spanish version of this worthy of the investment? How about the efforts we're making in accessibility? Are those worthy of the time and efforts? Well, they're always worthy of, but these are things that you have in the data. So Simpatico is doing that. We have another client that's going to be serving penitentiaries. And it makes us, these are like those eye-opening, heartwarming moments that you say, wow, man, some people are going to be really, they get access when they're so disconnected from the world. So we're very anxious about that. And that one, they will take a direct link from their authentication. So, the prisoner will log in to a very secure environment they have locally, probably an intranet. And that information will be stored in our Simpatico template so they can launch a direct URL. They won't have to do any LMS. And so there's no need for other risks. They go directly to the course or a bundle of courses. They take it. We have the data and we'll provide it in reports. So these are things that we're doing, John, and I think that all of them have to deal with the data, the video. Some of them, I think about a third of them are also dealing with the video, and that's growing quickly. And then the content experience. And these three platforms, Simpatico for the content and delivery experience, Songbird for the analytics, and Shuttle for the video, are the plays that we have. Typically, our relationships start with one of these components and then it expand. And for most of our clients, they're multi-platform or multi-solution clients. And we're making more and more efforts to make these streamlined so that the use of any of these is as easy as using one. Yeah. So those are things we're doing. And another example of this is a group, and I think we can start talking about different things that they're doing. The needs for additional data. For example, we have a group that's very specific to tracking data. because they're in a continuing education market, they need to know, for example, in Zoom sessions or WebEx, they conduct multiple multiple hour high-end Zoom sessions for their education series. So similar to like an HBR or someone else, they have 4 to 8 hour session, even some multi-day sessions. And what they do to make sure, and these are high-end, very expensive courses by world-renowned faculty. And what they want is that because they offer credit and points to this, they want to make sure people are paying attention. And what they're doing is they're polling the audiences in the tool that they're using, whether it's Zoom or webinar. And then they also track the time participation through the data that's available in the webinar behind the scenes. And what we're doing for them is very specialized, but it's now something that we can do for anyone, is to track in these segments of time, in a 4 hour, an 8 hour session or a multi-day session, how many times did this participant interact with the polls, and how much time did they spend based on the API data that's from the platform, pull that into a very clean report, score them. So there's one row per participant across the multiple sessions, and a score for their participation in the polls, and a score of the participation in the Zoom's time or WebEx time. These are the things we're doing. And so these are, again, we go back to the concept of we're not inventing learning, but we're making it better for the groups that want to do better, and they're pushing it envelope, whether they're saying, we're not happy with the experience of just delivering and being a $10 million or $15 or $20 million education business. We're a $50 million education business. We want to be at 80 or 100 million. There are things that you need to do. And I think on top of all the things we mentioned is that everything we do is API driven. And we try to do the things that are on the modern web, meaning we use XML and JSON for sharing data. Publishers can use the advanced tools behind the scenes to send us levels of information without going through admin tools on our user interface, and do advanced configurations and rules that are typically not afforded to you in the more commercially oriented packaged software solutions. And that's not meant to make them diminish their value. But what those tools do I still would consider them rapid authoring tools. And that's a great place to be. I mean, one would argue that's a great place to be. And there are values to a rapid authoring tool that takes a PowerPoint or someone's Word document, a storyboard, and puts a course together in 10 to 15 minutes. It'll make it look good. But there's also value in a tool that in Sapatia says, bring me all your huddled masses of content. We're going to store it in a container, let me just, so visually into something where it's a repository, make it very easy for you to find something, and then launch it, preview it, provide it in any kind of output, an AICC, SCORM, LTI, manage your users. And what it also allow you to do is syndicate. Now, syndication is out there. There are tools like Swarm Cloud and others that are doing that right now. Rustici. We do not want. We highly respect those groups. This is just one component of the capabilities of our services. So there are groups that say, we love this. We love how we can wrap content, present it in a visually attractive way. We also want to take this and make it visible to our clients elsewhere. And that's where basically we can come in and say, that's no problem. And we can make the content look as, stylish. And this is not a traditional e-learning course that you see with Articulate, where you have exams in a tab and a dashboard. The client will also have, in this case, their own advanced widget here that they're presenting, and we're going to make a space for it. But imagine this is a page builder. The page builder allows us to then put in components that the client's creating or we're creating for the client. In this case is lessons of content. So if I go into a particular lesson, I can see that lesson and everything is being tracked. So I'm going to clear out my annotations here. But what you'll see is what we consider a modern layout and clean layout. the style and how everything is presented is all under the control behind the scenes. It could be easily changed. So a client, actually, this particular client had a change in typeface. They wanted to change typeface to another marketing brand choice. That was changed within a second. That's a style. They have different layouts for the different types of things, like here, terms to know. You can define those as part of the CSS or the cascading style sheet. As you can see, as I'm doing anything, I'm also being tracked. So if I scroll down to this page, their XAPI is firing off to everything I'm doing, complete to initiate a page, tab away from the page. This is pushing XML data in JSON formats, right, to a client a client endpoint data warehouse. So the data warehouse is taking all this, and the client's actually creating predictive analytics around this to support their other businesses. And as you can see, as I scroll there's other kinds of content. If I push this video, there's video that's played here. These videos are delivered by our video engine subtly, but what's happening here is also behind the scenes, the XAPI is firing back into their data warehouse endpoint so that the client knows that this video was played, how much of it was played, and how many times it's played by this particular participant. So it sounds like a lot of data, and it is for a course like this. And these are landmark courses. So this client in particular is creating insurance prep material for the pre-licensure material for all states. So I'm in the Mississippi life insurance course. There's obviously 50 states. Everyone has its own product, and there are variations. These are other things that the Simpatica system is doing, meaning it can handle the variations by state. It can also allow the client to sell variations of the product, meaning some clients will sell, for the client, they may sell to a major insurance provider and say that they get an extra component, an extra video gallery or anything. Those would just be added for that particular client. They just inform us through the APIs that are in place. So this is all composed together. This wrapper, this skin, is all composed by Simpatica. So this visual experience, behind the scenes, how does this content get to us, is the client choice. They can certainly go in to the admin that I launched from in here and add these components. But these components in this content management system are coming through an API push to us, not through a manual entry. You have both choices. So this is a bulk support and the manual support of uploading. And these exams have different rules in different states. So as you can see, I cannot enter these exams until I pass. In this particular state, I have to pass all the chapter quizzes. But in California, it's totally different. All these exams will be open. So all these variations, all these settings, I know we've gone through a lot of detail on this, but the key component is that this is not built in an authoring tool. The authoring tool essentially is a content management system that stores the client's material about actuaries or basic concepts, risk, peril, hazard here. As you can see, the client's managing this because they're the experts in this. And when they're ready, they push a button and it publishes to the content engine here and it renders this course.
Cool. Nice.
And we're not constrained, John, to these layouts. We can go to another client and you'll see that, so if I spell right, what you'll see here is confidentiality here. Let me just launch this. What you'll see here is totally different layout. What you'll see in this video, if I click on this, is a traditional menu, but this is our video player, and then they're taking questions that they've built. This is not something they could do easily in another tool, but the tool that they're using and that they feel comfortable with, they can use to create. Either they create videos, so they're just recording videos of these. These are leading experts in their fields in law practice, and then they use the layout engine in Simpatica to put this all together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're using our video engine for the actual. So a pretty long-winded answer to your question, John, but these are the three platforms,
Mm-hmm.
and these are what we're doing.
Can we see what an interactive video looks like real quick?
Sure. Let me bring up one here. I had one and I think I just closed
Just did it. Posted a post yesterday on
I
interactive
saw
video.
that. Thank you for that. We can check all those boxes, by the way. Let me show
Oh,
you.
I know. That's why I listed you. And why I asked to see it.
Oh, thank you. So in this case, this is another video, but what you'll see is as I play it, I think the audio is set up so you can hear the audio. But I'm just going to start here and push play. So you'll see that Alexandra is speaking here, and this is the text transcript. She stopped it here. I paused it. As you can see, there are a few features that I want to point out. One is behind the scenes, you won't see this now and visibly, but everything that I'm doing is tracked in the X API. So I paused it, that event was fired off. I also see this green mark where all of the places where I viewed the video and where there's gaps or places I haven't. It's because I skipped. Now this is a control, what they call the scrubber here, this control mechanism. Certain clients will allow it to be restricted so that they cannot do these skips, and that's perfectly fine. The setting allows you to do that, and it allows you to also say if they finish it, then they can skip around. Those are all settings, and we try to do everything by a setting. There's an Ask the Instructor feature. I can hide the side panel. The side panel is very big focus for us, is this text transcript and the speakers is generated by AI. So the AI is run, the video is pulled through AI, and it generates a text transcript. And the author of the video, whoever is putting the video together, can format it, bold certain terms they want. Let's say the AI doesn't make mistakes in spelling, but it might interpret a word differently. We have group find and replace. You can do that all in this. And then you can also identify speakers. The AI is smart enough to identify the different speakers, meaning speaker 0, 1, 2, 3. So in our archive of this webinar that we're speaking, there'll be two speakers, you and me. There'll be speaker 0 and 1 in typical webinar data. And then a person can come in here and add the profile for John Lay here. So these are the speakers, and you can upload an image. You can take notes, and you can also, as an author, set bookmarks so I can jump to the particular points in the video, as you can see here. So I'm playing the video. If I go back to the transcript, you'll see that, and you'll keep track of it. But let's just say there was a point in the video they mentioned the word plasma. I'm really interested in that. You can see all the times that it happens. I'm going to jump to this point and click on it.
Cool.
We're not doing we're not steering away the clients from the internet protocols. We're using MP4 for the video. They can use the standards of the video. We're not asking them to use a specialized platform to record this. This video actually exists on YouTube. They can pull it from, we have direct integrations with webinar platforms, so this can even come in overnight as a process. And we can take bulk videos. We had a client give us 500 videos. To transfer that, typically they were used to sending a hard drive, like these old portable Toshiba hard drives. We said, just tell us where they are right now, we can pull them down. That happened. We just need them pulling down for the transcription to happen. We don't even need to host the video. It can be anywhere in the world. And then the other thing is that this transcription, the tool itself will also offer, if we needed to do languages, if there is a different language available, we can detect it. We can also enable closed captioning. We can hide this and make it in the big view. These are all part of the actual components of the tool.
Cool. All right, we're running out of time. Show me a couple data visualizations. What's that look like? What's that mean?
So in terms of visualizations, I'm going to switch over to here, and you'll see that here.
Cool.
It's not, there we go. So you'll see that basically the completions enrollments are a very simplified view, but one of the most important ones. And I can start slicing the data. I can look at it in different ways, like an area chart. I can say, well, I just want to look at it by day. I can change the segmentation. This is a very simplified view, but you can see that these are by week, day, year. I can look at that. This is what we call the health dashboard. And really, this is one of those ones where we're trying to do insights. We're trying to show them how things look if you chart them. How many total learners, returning learners. We're adding value on top. We're not manipulating the LMS data or any of them. We're trying to give you trending data, percentages of changes, trends in the days, anomalies, things that are happening that shouldn't be happening, high scores and low scores. Those are what we're trying to do with these things. A very key and important one is enrollment status. Out of the last 30 days, how many of them are completed? A great majority for this client. but then there's some that are in progress and some very small. Now, when they're a lot larger, the client starts getting panicked, and they see that data, where something is enrolled, but they're not even started. That's a problem. You can actually click on these. I'm not going to click on them because they will disclose users. But when you click on them, they'll actually show the participants in these statuses. Same thing is if I hover over one of these dates and I say, wow, this is a big peak for enrollments, 394 on August 22nd. What did we do? I can click on that and actually see all the enrollments in that day. Or I can download it. With all the charts and visualizations, we try to make them manipulable, or you can actually manipulable, right? So you can download it. You can also chart it. You can also take this image and place it into a view. So these are the things we're doing, John. These are advanced tools to help clients in various ways understand what's going on with their data. I'll just show you one more here. I know we're running out of time here, and apologize.
Well, we always run out of time when we get together.
Sorry. Hopefully this has been of value for everyone, and we get excited about it because we love this stuff. Yep. But let me just show you really quickly one more here. I'm trying to show you some examples of things. This is another one where basically this is exam view. So an exam, how much time, how many people, 51, my red mark, let me just get rid of these marks here. 51 took it. Average time to complete it is 1.9 minutes. The average first attempt was 65, but then you can see the average final attempt is 99. There's a 34% gap, and that's why the green bar exists, and that number is us calculating it for you so you don't have to. For all this data, if I click on further, I'm going to go into this assessment and see further data on how they performed. And these are all sortable too, so I can say, well, what exam had the worst first attempt average? Or what exam had the least amount of time required to complete it? Those things, average. And then when you dive into them, then you see the detail per participant, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cool. So how, that's great stuff, Tamer. Great work in progress. Always great catching up and seeing new things. How do folks buy this? So organizations can come to Authentic Learning Labs directly, and you work
through
with
partners.
vendor partner LMS partners that would just embed this solution as part of that. So both
are options. Yeah. We exist as hopefully what we consider ourselves as Switzerland. We want to integrate, and almost like the simpatico concept is we can integrate directly with an LMS provider. We can integrate directly with a customer of an LMS provider, mm-hmm. or in the third case, the scenario of a group that is not there yet with an LMS or may never need one because they're trying to launch one enterprise course mm-hmm. to an audience that is totally separate from their corporate LMS. But they need to launch it without the rigors of going through whatever security and protocols, or need to do it just separately. We can launch. Mm-hmm. Let's just say this client has an extended enterprise that all is on a Slack channel or MS Teams channel. We can coexist right underneath of that, and it'll fold under all the security protocols that they already have.
Wow, cool. All right, well, listeners out there, if you're in that top 5 or 10% of the industry that's looking to take this to the next level, that's what Tamer and his team at Authentic does. They're going to kick your learning up, and not only that, they're going to kick it up in a way that's measurable, that'll allow you to grow your learning business significantly. So this is less about compliance for employee training and more about, as Tamer said, taking you from 15 million to 90 million in sales, what it's all about, by being smart about your data and your learning. So if that's you, reach out. But just as importantly, LMS vendors that are listening, I know a lot of you are listening to understand what's going on in the industry. If your video stinks, if your training plan is that capability is not where it should be, these are easy solutions to plug and play and take it up to the next level, immediately. So both groups, think about that. I'm a big fan, of course, of Authentic Learning Labs and Tamer. Thanks for joining me today. It's great to have you, listeners. Now you see why this is my favorite series of content, because you just can't learn this kind of stuff anywhere else. So there you have it. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, Tamer.
You too,
We'll
John.
see you on the next. You can find more of our independent content at talented learning.com.
Thanks, everyone.